Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for finding your way back to the live stream. My apologies, of course. We've had some disconnection issues, as most of you are aware. Hi to Fahim, you found your way back, which is great news. Let's hope everybody else manages to head back. I forgot to do the housekeeping and let everybody know to go back to the main channel, didn't I, if we had any dropouts. I thought we were safe from this. We've been safe for a couple of weeks, but unfortunately not. Here we are, back where we're used to being with those glitches. Nick Gishin then will start the next session. Everybody made it through qualifying, so you'd have to question quite why we did it, but it was good warm-up for everybody and they got themselves organised. So I don't know whether we'll just delete session 1, and if so, I will go through the standings once again through the course of this evening before the race begins. But starting the first flying lap here in Q2 is Nick Gishin. Looks like we've got nearly everybody on their outlaps as well. So Nick just has that long run just to condense all the cars into turn 1 and 2, but in the race, from the race start. But down into turn 1 we go, just riding those curves. That looked like quite a lot of curve through turn 2 for Nick Gishin, but he just about got perfect apex through turn 3. DRS back open again under the Rolex bridge and braking down for the opposite facing but almost identical 90-degree corner there into turn 4. Now into turn 6 we go, and nailing that final apex beautifully. Welcome to AP Marg, good to have you back. You hadn't spoken up in the previous live chat unless I missed it, as Nick Gishin flirts with those with danger and track limits through the S's. Good job he's driving a Red Bull and not a Ferrari that manages to spin its way around like that, and then braking heavily into turn 12. That looked like a very acute angle for Nick Gishin, but he just about rescued it, maybe lost a tenth or two on the way through there. Runs round the turn 16 and then through the Peraltada final corner, now known as Mansell, and across the line a 16.8. We get a 16 for the first lap out there, so that's good to see. Looks like Hashim is finishing off his lap in the Williams, and what will this be, a 16.9? So we get two 16s straight away as Shakes puts in a 17.590. We've got a McLaren about to cross the line, and it's Umer goes P3, 16.9. Somewhat of a quiet session so far in Q1 for Umer, but he'll be pleased with that early banker right on the money, well within a chance of threatening for the fastest time then later in the session, unless of course he's keeping his powder dry. I know that we've got Mad Trav in the league, who I know from other leagues, and where we had full qualifying, Mad Trav would always go slow in Q2 and then nail it in Q3. I think it was a tactic not to reveal his hand too much. He was able to play with it. Martin goes fastest, 1:16.810, within the same tenth as Nick Gishin's time, but that little bit quicker, 0.07 of a second he goes, and the times are rolling in nice and securely now for everybody. Looks like Uzi must have had an issue on that first push lap, and he had a heck of a lot of traffic going towards the S's. Looks like he's just taking it fairly easy at the moment, not really pushing the car. I wonder if Chums or Brad are actually on a push lap. We'll see as Chums goes to cross his sector time here. Excuse me, and yes, looks like he is a little bit quicker here, 1 second faster through the first sector. Looks like he had to slow in sector 3. Congrats to everybody for rejoining us back on the channel here. 8 seconds faster is Chums, and a tiny bit of an early turn in there to turn 12 will really compromise him through the difficult stadium section. And then heading through the gears towards the line, stays in the middle of the track, oddly really, but an 18.6 for Chums. Gets a lot more competitive than he was on his previous lap, so it's probably a good enough time, as good a time as any, to go back through those standings. Division 2 driver standings see Umer on top on 98 points, Martin climbing his way back into contention on 89 after the win, in the previous round. Pantry Star and 02 Caller joined third on 57, and then Avalak and Boontiers joined fifth on 53. Chums, Super D all have over 40. Then comes Nick, Top Gun, to round out the top 10, with Uzi having missed the previous round on 28 points in 11th. In terms of constructors, remember constructors are combined across the top two divisions, and we have Red Bull leading 274 to Mercedes 226, Haas on 187, Scuderia Ferrari on 166, then McLaren on 150, Williams on 128, AlphaTauri on 72, Alfa Romeo on 60 points, and Aston Martin at the back with 40. No Alpines racing in the top two divisions. I'm not quite sure what the Alpine team did to upset everybody, but there we go. Fahim says race pace setup for Umer. It will be different. I wonder if he'll be running low front wings, low wings altogether, to have the better chance of overtaking in the race, or he's got pace in hand and believes that he will be able to monster this with higher downforce settings for tyre wear. That's the interesting one. And what I was talking about earlier in terms of strategy is that there is a new update to the game that enables the drivers to have more than one set of medium tyres for their race weekend, as it were. So it may well open up a potential two-stop, a medium, soft, or combination of those three tyres, soft, medium even, and not have to use those very difficult hards that are frankly terrible around this track. Boontiers, and there goes 02 Call up into the midfield in P7 a 17.291. Boontiers has invalidated this one. Uzi looks to be finishing off his lap, but this is a pretty slow one. And Elmarie says supporting the twins in the Haas. Is that new information for me? Do we genuinely have Pantry Star and Chums are twins? Is that genuinely true, or am I being led astray by trolls in the chat? Fahim welcomes Elmarie. I know Elmarie, you've been with us before, but I've never heard you refer to them as twins before, so I just have to be on my toes a little bit. Awesome. So hopefully confirmation that the drivers are indeed twins, Chums and Pantry Stars. Fantastic. We've got two sets of brothers in the teams. The Osmonds in the McLaren, and what I'm guessing the Velthuizens in the Haas, which is pretty cool. That and the brothers in the AlphaTauri as well, Brad and Shakes. So very much a family affair. So now I can talk about kind of the needle between brothers. I guess you put them in the same team so that they play nicely with each other. Otherwise, it'd be if it anything like my sons, they'd be driving each other off the track for some concern that they've each got over something that went down the day previously. They would be all over the place. But maybe other people have kids that get along. Not me. Itchy and Scratchy get along better than my two boys. Down we go then, Pantry Star into turn one. Getting good rotation through the car. You need to be really careful though on the soft tyres, not to take too much out of the tyres in the first sector of the lap. Perhaps go fairly easy, because you can ruin these tyres before you even get to the S's and certainly the stadium. And you can have a monster first sector and just really poor second and third sector because of that same reason. 5 minutes to go in Q2. It's a lot shorter a session for the top 15 drivers here. As we go over the first part of the S's, then risking grounding out across that middle sector, middle curb of turn 8, but staying valid and getting a purple sector for Pantry Star. This one's looking much better, much cooler. Getting a tiny bit over the sausage curb effectively through the corner there, and just unsettling the car. Little correction as I try to apply the power. 16.4 though for Pantry Star is the fastest time we've seen so far. Two purple sectors, all three purple sectors despite that issue coming through the stadium, so there may still be maybe 2 tenths to find for Pantry Star. Relative speed, of course, the track's always improving through here. Try and find you a driver who is genuinely pushing. Chums appears to be pushing now, so let's see how he can compare to his twin. Puna like that time. Yeah, it was a good one from Pantry Star. Very, very nice. Nick Gishin isn't going to challenge it, it seems. Umair's out on track on his outlap, but Nick Gishin isn't going to try and defend or get that top place back. Doesn't need to do anything particularly special, and he'll be using tyres, of course, every time they go out. So to some extent, it's a waste of time. If you've got a 16 on the board, you're guaranteed to go through. At the moment, if you've got a 17, a 1 minute 17 on the board, you're guaranteed to go through as well, it seems. But the driver on the bubble is Shakes, only just slightly slower than Brad at the moment. So could well be that one of the bottom 5 drivers currently can get the overlap. Chum's 2.5 seconds slower than he's been before. I don't think then that this one's rescuable from here. Let's ride with Top Gun as he tackles the next one. He's in P12 and he may be able to get the car. He got 10th place last time. He's 10th place in the championship. So let's see if he can get himself back to roughly where he belongs at the moment. At the moment he's a lot further down. So 900ths gained in the first sector. Needs a good amount of gain then in the next 2. He's got a car in front of him. It's a McLaren. I'm going to just experiment with short shifting out of turn 6. Looks like that the rear wheels just lighting up slightly and over turn 8. Again, another driver really risking it, and we're going wide through turn 10, but he manages to just feather the throttle down into a 12. Then he's half a second faster than he's been before. This could get him safe into the next session with potentially, I think, not any more runs left to go, unless he's got enough in the battery to run an extra lap here. Short shifting on the way out. He's got 30% ERS left. Top Gun only manages 11th, and if he's fueled up, he might be able to get round in time, but it is going to be right on the bubble to get round to start another lap. How's Uzi doing? Down in 14th as he tries to lift himself out of the elimination zone at the moment. Uzi in P14 on an 18.6. He's gained 0.09 of a second so far, just under anyway. We're getting yellow flags everywhere, but the drivers don't really worry about yellow flags in this session. As Puna just points out that Umair went second, absolutely, on a 16.498. Very close between the top 2. I'm trying to focus on the drivers on the bubble of elimination though at the moment, but we will pay attention to the top guys at the end. 0.8 of a second so far from Uzi gained. That will see him in the 17s, but he needs a 17, well, pretty much a 17.4 really. Well, I guess any kind of 17.5 will do him. Getting the car wrestled out of the peltada and across the line. 1.2 seconds to the good. That was a monster run through the final sector. Uzi into P9, and I'm going to go ahead and assume safe at this point, as Bunyi's then comes to try and get out of that elimination zone as well. Bunyi's on the Williams. Oh, we've seen that twice before tonight. Not from him, but other drivers. He lifts himself by 0.4 and smashes the car up. Perhaps a little bit of anger showing there for Bunyi's as he potentially puts a yellow flag on the track for the rest of the drivers finishing their final laps. I don't know if that'll be taken a bit of a dim view from the admins of the league, doing that kind of thing to your car before the session is truly over. Here comes Shakes to cross the line, P9, and gets himself out of elimination and puts his brother Brad into elimination. So that probably won't go down super well. Hashim in the Williams about to cross the line as well in P6, goes to P4, 16.786. Pantry Star still there with the fastest time from Umair, Nick Gishin, Hashim, Avalak, Martin, Arno 02, Shakes and Uzi will progress. Brad, Bunyi's, Top Gun, Chums and Jack will not. and I will be back shortly just to take a quick break and grab a drink. And we're back then to start the flying laps in Q3. We've got, looks like Martin on track already trying to attack the lap. Let's see your predictions then in the chat. Try and be impartial if you've got family connections. But will it be Pantry Star, Umer, Martin? Will Nick Gishen grab pole? Tell me what you think will be the pole sitter. What do you think will be the pole time? Will we get anywhere near the 1:15s at all? As Martin then will be looking to try and nail a faster lap than he's managed so far this evening. And if you were watching with us last week, you'll know it's becoming a little bit of a trademark of Martin to slam those top times in right at the death of the session. Fahim says into the 15s we will go. I'm assuming for Umer we think, but let's see as Martin, remember that track ramp up that's happening with the grip levels, and Martin goes immediately 16.395, fastest time we've seen so far tonight, and straight up there. Umer gets a 16.6 and getting quicker all the time. Then comes Nick Gishen on a 16.5. Now we're talking, the guys are really getting the close times in. Avalak a 16.9. I think that's his first trip into the 16s tonight. And we've got Arno coming through. He's not going to set a time though. What about Pantry Star? who set the fastest time through the previous session, Q2, stretches for the line, doesn't stay right like you would expect on a 16.7. It's something to build on. It's not going to be a massive time though for him. Uzi, next one to cross the line. Shakes has decided to go out onto medium tyres. I'm not quite sure how that one's going to work out unless he's saving softs for the race. Uzi appears to be on a charge lap previously. A 0-2 call comes across the line. He's invalidated, unfortunately, will not set a time. So let me make sure that the screen is properly organised for you all. So it's first round goes to Martin, 16.395. Then goes Nick Gish and Umer, Pantry Star, Avalak, all in the 16s, followed by Uzi on a 136.809. So it's safe. It's a safe banker, but it's not going to set the world alight at this stage. Shakes is on an outlap on the medium tyres. Quite what he's doing. You guys got any ideas what the game plan is to go out on medium tyres in Q3? Well, if there was a plan, that outlap's been invalidated. Never mind. So I'm not hearing from anyone who they think's going to get the pole. Bonus kudos to you if you pick someone you're not related to. But how about that lap from Pantry Start in Q2? Let's see. Martin is the fastest at the moment. Shakes is the next one to tackle the racetrack. Medium tyres, as I said before, is Uzi gets a 17.6. That's not going to trouble the front guys. And for him, reckons that this is a scrub set of mediums being put through its paces. So we may be looking, will we, at Shakes potentially thinking about a new strategy, a potential two-stop for Shakes. I'll try and remember that into the race. That's a good shout if that's the plan here for Shakes. Get a heat cycle through those mediums. I don't think he'd have the option of starting on them, but he could easily switch to them, and they may give him the right balance of grip and longevity. I'm pretty sure he will get a faster time than Uzi's first time, but can he trouble Uzi here on a 17.6 on these medium tyres instead? You can see the lack of turn-in on the medium tyre then into turn 12 for Shakes. I'm not quite sure it's possible to be perfect through there on the mediums. Just seems to be following the car slightly as Shakes gets a 17.777. Puna says the hull for pole. You're going to have to help me with that one. Oh, so you're saying Hashim. There you go. I'm using his first name, I think. But the hull for pole, he says. We've got outlaps happening for Umer at the moment, and he's about to start his next lap then. Let's watch. No, he's not. What's going on there? That's weird. Okay. Looks like Hashim as starting. Why am I getting start notifications like finishing their outlap from these guys, only to then see them invalidating elsewhere on the lap? Anyway, Nick Gishin will challenge for pole here. Pole time currently 0.2 faster than he's gone before. Very tight and tidy. Perhaps a shade too slow through turn 1, but that means he's been able to slingshot out of turn 3. And down we go then into turn 4 again. Now we're a little bit shy of that apex, interestingly. So through into turn 6. As Botta has been watching the stream, he's reminding the Division 2 drivers that there are penalties for deliberate retirements on track during qualifying. Whoops, sorry about that. Boot news. Might have just got you into trouble. Anyway, so Nick Gishin has almost got what he needs, a 1.74 improvement through the Sector 2. This could be challenging for pole, just needs to grab himself a few hundredths of a second to get onto pole position, to get close to that 1:16.395. Here we go to the line, and it is a new pole. It's a 1:16.253 for Nick Gishin. Tremendous lap from him. Umer comes into the pits. He's not running particularly hard at the moment, and Pantry Start, the star of Q2, is next on track with his hot lap. I think this will be his final one. 3 minute 27 to go but if he does invalidate, he might have time for another one. Puna says Nick Gishin is flying. Yeah, that was a very, very tidy lap. 16.2. We're getting close to the 15s now, as the guys start to get really serious out there. Pantry Star is going slowly through this one. That's not anything special, is it? As Arno nails a 127 out lap. He starts his next lap, his next flying lap. Avalak down in 6th at the moment. We've got Pantry Star, I think just going fairly slowly. Arno hasn't set a time yet. See him across the first sector and how that one goes. And we'll look out for outlaps starting from the top 3. Just a quick check on Pantry Star. I'm not missing something. No, he definitely is going slowly. Avalak has posted a purple first sector, so that's pretty tidy. Let's watch Arno through the S's. Very smooth on the throttle application and lack of application. 57.2. That's pretty quick through that section. Avalak, his middle sector is half a second faster. That could move him up several places in the standings. Here comes Arno then to finish out his lap. Hugs the right hand side as the pros do it. P7, 117, 103. What about Avalak? Can he get further up the grid? Yes, indeed he can. Up to the front row, in fact. What a final sector for Avalak. And he makes it a Red Bull 1-2, a 116.297 for him. Martin and Umer are on their outlaps. Pantry Star, I'm guessing, must be trying to post a lap. Here he is, and he's a little bit quicker through sector 2. I'm not sure it's enough. It's quite like his Q2 time. Goes to the line then, 16.811, and it's a P5 for Pantry Star. Umer is on a flyer, posted 16.639. Really don't know what to make of these times. I'm getting a little bit confused by what the game is telling me. Umer is definitely on a push lap now. He spent 30% ERS before he reaches turn 1. Away we go then. Pressing that ERS button. DRS open as well. Heading towards the first sector. How's it looking? 26 hundredths faster. Let's join Martin then. See how his first sector looks as well. And it's 6,800 slower for Martin. So Umer looking with the more promising lap so far. Still valid. Goes into the S's. He needs a good improvement, a big improvement, to get himself up even one place onto P3 on the clean side of the circuit. Not that that seems to matter a great deal, and he's lost time through sector 2, unfortunately. Pantry Star is going pretty slowly. We've got Martin heading towards his sector 2, and he's under his time. So inverse middle sectors for Martin versus Umer here, and he could get himself with this kind of improvement knocking on the door of the front row, possibly even a challenge for that pole time. Checkered flag has fallen. Nick Gishin leads, but what can Martin do? He goes up to pole position on a 116.177. Does it right at the death of the session once again for Martin. Wow, he's absolutely making a habit of this. Next one then to challenge is going to be Nick Gishin as he goes through the S's, gets pretty good rotation and drive. Once someone's messing up there, that might have been an Alpha Tauri or an Alfa Romeo. I saw a big flash of white, and Nick Gishin is faster, and he's faster by enough to claim that pole position back. This is really tense stuff as they get then towards the end. That maybe looked a shade slow, did it for Nick on the way through the middle of the stadium? Let's see. Crosses the line. No, it's enough. It's a 16.119, and he goes pole position. I don't think anyone is going to be arguing with that as the laps finish up. Shakes is the one that had the problem. The checkered flag has fallen. Arno, I think, has invalidated on a slow lap, but Nick Gishin retakes pole after Martin lowered the bar towards the end. What a fantastic finish to Q3. A real culmination of the work the guys have put in all the way through so far this evening. Tremendous stuff. And there's still 50% race still to come. Nick Gishin then will claim the plaudits for the pole, and we'll try and get that Red Bull away from the line as well as possible. But it is a difficult race to start from the front. But he's clearly got pace tonight. Nick Gishin will be looking to try and translate that into full distance race pace and race management. What of the strategy, what do you predict today? How many drivers will try the two-stopper? We're looking at the possibility of shakes. 02 didn't even set a time in that session, unfortunately. Nick Gishin then pole, 1:16.119 from Martin at 1:16.177, just 58 slower. Avalak in an impressive third place. Umer, we're hearing, is on race pace, race setup on a 16.296. Then comes Pantry Star, Hashim, Arnu, and Uzi on P8, then Shakes on P9 and 02 P10. We will go for our race distance. Oreo says Drive to Survive couldn't make this more dramatic. Well, that's good, I guess. Yes, we wouldn't want any false drama, would we? But yeah, fantastic final session there. Thankfully, we caught everybody going round to complete their laps at exactly the right time. But yes, we have ready for us, I think it's 37 laps, 36, 37 laps of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico. Looks like dry weather, certainly for our start. I think we will be dry weather throughout, of course. And drivers just making their final adjustments, final strategic calls for what they can, at least. You can tweak that front wing, you can change your race strategy, your predicted pit stops, get yourself ready. But of course you don't know until the wheel covers come off for everybody on the grid quite what everyone else has chosen, so always a bit of a gamble. Let's see who starts on the mediums, who starts on the hards. Will anyone dare to start on the soft tyres and commit to a two-stopper? Let's see. Looks like the driver's away then for the start, and let's go straight to that tyre selection. We have yeah, a complete mix, which is great to see. 6 drivers on hards: Umer, Pantry Star, Hashim, Boot News Top Gun Chums. So that is 4th, 5th, 6th, and 12th, 13th, 14th. We've got soft tyres on Uzi in 8th, on Brad in 11th, and Jacques in 15th at the back, and then medium tyres for the remaining 6 drivers. Brilliant to see everybody all over the place. Stoffel joins us, which is good to see. Hi Stoffel. Remind me who you're driving for at the moment and who you're cheering for. And Puna says Umer for the win, and he's money. I think that's flying money as well. For Umer, reckons P4 starting on the hards. It's going to be a tough first stint, those hard tyres. And Uzi on the softs, says Fahim, I like his choice. Well, it's aggressive from P8. He's the foremost soft runner. Look to Umer potentially to be in good shape later in the race. But what can Uzi do off the line with 3 drivers on hard tyres in front of him and all the drivers in front of him on harder tyres than he starts? That's going to be thrilling to see. Wish I could have multiple camera angles at the start. Unfortunately, I have to pick where to go, and I tend to pick around P3, 4, 5 kind of region so that we can capture everything possible at the front end. But we'll keep an eye then. We'll try and remember those tyre selections away from the start. But it's always good to see who's making up places. So Puna says 500 Rand, I guess, on Umer. and it'll pay out 5 grand. Well, that's a 10 to 1 odds. Well, that is not a good way to start the race, Umair. That's quite the burnout. A little bit embarrassing, perhaps. He won't thank me for the fact that I was watching him do that one, that little manoeuvre, by any means. But the drivers now collecting the cars into their grid slots. Looks like Umair managed to get himself disqualified from that session as well. But here we go. Oreo saying Martin to win. Let's have your 3 driver picks for your podium as well, if you can, before we get done with lap 1. The lights are on. It's time to go racing around the Mexico City Grand Prix, and it's drop the clutch and go, go, go away from the start. The 2 Red Bulls getting reasonable starts. It looks like to have got better second phase for Nick Gishen as the drivers start to battle on the way down. It looks like Martin trying to get the slipstream on the Red Bull, who has cut across to the inside to claim the corner. Driving on board with Umair, who is competing with the other Red Bull, but it's the Martin who squeezed his way ahead through turn 3, and it's Arno on better tyres than Umair who gets ahead of him away from the start. It's down 3 places for Pantry Star, it's down 8 for Hashim, down 6 for Shakes. Big drama for many of our drivers who still are at the tail of the field, but managing to stick with them, with lots of people messing up the exit of turn 5 as they head towards turn 6. It looks like we've got Arno gaining places once again. Arno up 4 places now, and Uzi up with his brother up into P6, gaining 2, but trying to hold off Brad just behind there, who has scrubbed that set of tyres, and around goes Arno, ruining his early lap. You can see the spin on the way in the middle of the S's. Looks like he avoided contact. Uzi late on the brakes allows Brad to slip down the inside, and a contact, I think, to the other Osman brother of Umair, who now is stuck all the way down in P10. Leader of the championship down into P10. I'm pretty sure there was contact there. I don't think he would have spun the car quite so easily on his own. So Umair down 6 should make for an exciting race to watch that McLaren come through, but he might need to switch strategy now, because being on hard tyres from the majority of the race that far behind isn't going to do himself any favours. Martin leads from Nick Gishen in the early stages of this race, as now we've got Arno trying on the fight back. Top Gun gets a neat little manoeuvre there down into turn 1 and slips his way through very nicely indeed. Shakes on the fight back as well, is planted on the back of Chums and trying to challenge him. He's got ahead already. They haven't got any DRS, so that would have been electrical deployment and good grip on the way out of turn 3 for Shakes, who gets ahead. Boutier's down at the back of the field, but what a shame for Arno and for Umair, with drama from the start. 0.8 of a second though, Martin has managed to pull on Nick Gishen and his Red Bull teammate a further 0.9 back. Avalak in P3. Let's go back as Brad. We see Brad up 7 places with the pick of the start. Tremendous stuff to see there from the drivers. On the tyre selection, it's Brad and Uzi who have moved their way forward. Uzi has moved forward slightly at the expense of his brother, but not his own fault, unfortunately. Umair tagged from the behind, I believe. You can always go back and double check on that one for me. My eye wasn't necessarily on that car, but yeah, always rewind the stream and see if I saw correctly and that Umair was tagged. We've still got competition into turn 1 at the start of lap 3. Top Gun and Arno, with Top Gun defending, trying to get a better switch back now on the way through out of turn 3. No DRS yet. They haven't passed a detection zone, which I really think is a fault of this track. They really need to put in a second detection zone in the chicane of turns 1, 2, 3, so that second zone means something in terms of getting back a position that you may have lost. You may see some extra problems, but there's lots, as Puna says, Umair with a lot of work to do. Down in P11 now, remember, on the hard tyres, and struggling away. Now, he may have got a little bit of contact. It didn't look like damage, I say. Didn't look like huge contact, and there is the first of the penalties tracked for Top Gun. 3 laps in, and his third warning already triggered going through the S's. He may have got a double as a result of one of the previous laps. Martin with the new fastest lap, a 20.0, and already stretching outside of that DRS gap, but no such thing for Pantry on the hard tyres. who's managing to get a good enough launch out of the final corner to draw level with Uzi, but he will have to do this on the brakes. Uzi may be able to run around the outside. They go into turn 1 level, and Uzi hangs on. He's got the inside line. He's derating. That's possibly why Pantry Star managed to get ahead, and they just about give each other enough room. Very good driving from both of them, but Pantry Star comes out ahead with a second bite of DRS down into turn 3 and can start to stretch away as 0-2 Call is coming up behind the McLaren now and will be in his mirrors and really causing an issue. So Martin leads by 1.2 from Nick, who leads Avalak by 1.2. Then 3 seconds to the further back is the second group of drivers, Brad Pantry, Uzi, 0-2 Call, Arno and Top Gun, followed then a little gap to Shakes, Umair, Hashim and Chums, with Jacques and Bouniers some way back in the field. 0-2 Call down the inside of Uzi, who is struggling, I think, already for ERS deployment. He was certainly derating through the first chicane on the previous lap. Uzi slipping backwards now on those soft tyres, needs to stop the bleeding and start moving forward again, because he's got to use these softs while he's on them. Brad would be his reference point, started behind him and is now up into P4 and completely on his own pretty much, as Pantry Star will hope to get those hard tyres into a good operating window. Shakes versus Top Gun we have here, and Shakes all over the road, really very, very loose. He's going to have hot tyres now, and Hashim gets through in the Williams. Shakes has DRS, but so does Hashim. A little bit of drama there for Shakes, not for the first time tonight, unfortunately. Looking for a much smoother next